Kia ora from Northland in beautiful New Zealand. My name is Kathy and this is my partner and husband Mikal of nearly 30 years. So we're here today to talk to you about embracing the differences in an intimate relationship. And we're telling it from a his and her story. So our differences are many and varied, and they have caused us a lot of pain over our time together, but they are also the core of our relationship. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to tell you some stories on how those differences have manifested, and then how we've learned to respect and appreciate those differences, even when they drive us mad, which they still do at times, even after this length of time of being together.
Definitely.
So we met in a time when travelling was still easy. You know, in those good old days, we had both sold up, left our jobs and headed out into the world. And we had met in the beautiful country of Uganda. Uganda is a country in Africa that is incredibly beautiful, but it is also filled with pain and poverty. But it turned out to be a very good place for a romantic encounter.
It sure was. And I was out traveling, looking for myself, the soul-searching kind of thing. But in all honesty, really, I was also running away from the familiar and running away from a very recent divorce. So here I was in Uganda, or coming to the YMCA in Kampala, the capital, and who was there? There was Kathy. And was it love at first sight?
Not exactly, no.
No, not exactly. None of us were actually looking for a date, let alone a relationship. But we had 3 weeks on this first date, an absolute fabulous time. And we parted ways and didn't really know whether we were going to ever see each other again. And here we have one big difference between us. So I'm the kind of go with the flow type of person, and Kathy is more the planner, organizer type of person. So big differences. In this case, it worked out in our favor because Kathy managed to get us on a second date 6 months later in Nepal with big expectations of repeating what we had in Uganda. We had 5 weeks together, and that was pretty much a disaster.
Yes.
So definitely didn't think we were ever going to see each other again. But there was something special there that we just couldn't deny. So 6 months later, we had our third date in London, and that was 2 weeks of pretty amazing, kind of back to the Uganda feel. And about a month later, we had a long weekend in Scotland together, and then eventually I arrived at Kathy's doorstep in Paris. And what were you doing there?
Well, I'd gone to Paris to work, hoping to learn French, which wasn't successful. However, so when Mikal turned up on my doorstep in Paris in my tiny little apartment, I wasn't quite sure that I was ready for this. But he was there, and so he moved in. And that's when we really, when it came obvious that we were very different. We had met travelling, and so I had assumed that Mikal was an out there sort of guy, but when he got to Paris, he just stopped and seemed to be happier just being rather than doing, whereas I am much more of a doer. So I really started to question, could this relationship work with our huge differences there? But there was no doubt about it that there was something strong that kept it going.
There certainly was. So this setup in Paris was quite perfect for me. Kathy was working, I wasn't. I could sleep in and roll out a bit whenever it suited me and go and check out the cafe scene in Paris. So here we have another big difference. Kathy is a morning person and I'm not. I'm more of a night person. So when Kathy come home from work, she was ready to do stuff.
Yes.
What are we going to do? Where can we go? What can we explore? So the beer and the doer. And here is me, the going with the flow, and Kathy being the more the organizer. So the question then became, is there any way that we can actually make this work? And so far we managed to get back together 5 times. So clearly there was some strong bond between us, even though we couldn't quite pinpoint exactly what it was. The question was, though, is that going to be strong enough to overcome those differences so we can move on together? How did we manage from there on?
Well, so in that time in Paris, I got the feeling that it was time for me to go home. I'd been travelling for about 3.5 years, and New Zealand was calling. And so luckily, it seemed that Mikal was happy to come along with me back to New Zealand, and so that we could continue exploring this relationship that had so many things that was in the right, going well, but also these differences that were there. Not long after we got to New Zealand, we found ourselves as caretakers at a meditation retreat centre, which was perfect for Mikal, because now under the guise of meditation, he could do lots of sitting and doing nothing. But for me, it was a real challenge, because that just further made it difficult. I had glimpses of the importance of meditating, but sitting didn't work for me. It was about halfway through that there was a wonderful Buddhist meditation teacher there who had a good conversation with me, and she said, look, Mikal learns through stillness, but you learn through your body, and so get out there, slash that bracken, but be present, and that is your meditation. And so it was like, there is a way that we can be on the same road, maybe taking different paths, but going in the same direction. Huge turnaround for me. There was hope.
Absolutely. So big differences. And I think one of the key things we learned there, that it was not about right or wrong. It was not that my way is right and Kathy's way is wrong. It was really about learning to understand the differences, then accept the differences, and then take that next step and respect the differences. And in terms of meditation, as a meditation teacher myself, I have experienced over the years that women more often than not, go deeper into meditation through their body and through movement, and men more through that sense of stillness. So it was about being able to allow each other the space to do and be the differences, and then come together with that which we had in common. So that was a big learning from our 1 year Wangapega. Then from there, Kathy's career took us to Hawke's Bay, into a super small apartment. And little did we know that that was going to be a year of major events and even more differences.
Yes, so probably before we got to Wangapeka even, I woke up with this need, or desire, want to have children, which had never been there before. And when we'd actually got first together, Mikal had said to me, there is 3 conditions to this relationship. There's going to be no children, no dogs, and no station wagon. And I mean, at that point, of course, I was newly in love, and it was like, yep, that's fine. I don't have any desire to have children at the moment, or a dog, or a station wagon. So it was easy. But once that feeling of wanting a child came, there was no getting away from that, and it didn't want to go away. So I became quite caught in this problem of, do I leave this man who I by now knew that I deeply loved, but he didn't want what I wanted, or do I stay and let go of something that was really important to me? I finally got to a point of clarity where it was like, I can't leave him now, but there will be a time when I know that I will have to put that question to him, and if he says no, then it will be time for me to move through. Once I got to that place, then a certain ease came for me, and we were able to move. I was able to move on, knowing that that time would come, and it did. It
did eventually. So this was a tough one for me, because the consequences of making the wrong decision were too big, and I couldn't just say yes to children just to save the relationship, because I knew that was not going to work in the long run. So again, a huge difference. Kathy was keen and ready, and I wasn't. I had to find, in my language, it was like I have to find an alignment within myself, from deep within myself, where it is okay to start a family of our own. And my learning over the years is when I'm compromising and I'm out of alignment, it always backfires. And compromises are unavoidable in relationships. Let's just get that clear.
Yes.
So the alignment for me was the key. And as I said, it was a year of big differences. So I had promised myself never to have a mortgage again, never to get married again, and never to have children. And I got all three in 3 months. Talk about powerful women. Now I obviously found that alignment deep within myself where having children was absolutely okay and starting a family together. And I believe that within 1 week you were pregnant.
It was fairly quick. And so following that first pregnancy, I went on to have 2 more children. So we've ended up with 3 beautiful children who are now young adults out in the world doing their own thing. And we're back. It feels like we're in a full circle, back starting again, but with a lot more wisdom and knowledge. So we've got to the point now where we're able to understand and appreciate and be with those differences. And that's a real guiding factor of our relationship. They still drive me mad at times, and I'm sure Mikal as well, but now I have got way more choice on how I can be with those. So when he's in his corner doing whatever he's doing, I can choose to leave him and go and do my own thing, knowing that he'll be there when I come back. Or sometimes I drag him out with me and we go and do something together physical, and I then get my connection and my outdoor fix, and actually I think he enjoys that as well sometimes.
Okay,
So
I'll admit that.
For compromise with alignment is what has really made our relation continue to flourish. Yep.
Absolutely. So to finish with here today, based on our learning of 30 years and also as relationship coaches, we want to leave you with a couple of practical things that you can take away from this conversation. So I'm going to start out. My first one is get curious. And I mean really, really curious. There's a wonderful saying, always seek to understand before seeking to be understood. So next time you're in an argument or feel upset or pissed off, pause and then take a deep breath and then try to understand what is happening, both for you and the other person, even if it's for the 1000th time. So first of all, it creates a deeper connection, which is always good. And who knows, you may actually learn something of great value. So that's my one. What gem have you got for our audience?
So my gem is self-responsibility. Take responsibility for what is yours. So for a long time, I carried a lot of blame in the relationship. If only Mikal would do this, or why can't he be that, or when will he give me this? So it was very easy because it was all him. However, eventually I had to come to that point that actually I'm not perfect and there is my part in this too. And that was really important turnaround, because now I was owning my part of these problems that we came to or we ran into, and I was able to work on what was mine, and Mikal worked with what was his, and then there was the relationship which we could work on together, which really created a whole different energy around it. So yeah, own your own stuff. That is really, really important.
Very important. I'll second that. However, my second one is going to be different. That's going to be one for the guys. So when she comes to you with her emotions, don't fix it. It is not a leaky tap that needs fixing. There is actually nothing broken. Now, this can be really hard to grasp, and so it was for me. All you need to do is listen. And I mean, really listen. You can't be checking your phone and emails at the same time. Like, you're going to be there 100%. And then very simply, just watch what happens.
Yes, that's very, very right. So be there for us to lean on, be there as our pole to come back to. So And though for us, for women, I would like to say that trust in your emotions. So no matter what they are, if it's not feeling true or it's not feeling right, that's how it is in this moment. And that may change. It may change in 5 minutes. It may change in 20 minutes. But in that moment, trust how you are feeling. Don't doubt those feelings. They are yours. So our journey certainly isn't open. It's over, I hope. After this time together, and I have to say I'm still excited to come home from work to see Mikal there, and still get a bit of a buzz when I see him wandering slowly around the shopping centre, even though I know I could have been in and out and done in a much faster way. So we'd like to say that there is no right and wrong. We really believe there is no right and wrong, whether you should stay or leave in a relationship. But for us, the depth that we've come to, the knowing of each other and truly being seen has come from putting in that work, staying with it, and having fun along the way. That's really important.
Ideally.
So thank you for being part of our journey today, and we really wish you well wherever you stand in your relationships today and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.